Hello, I'm Brian Bankson from the Cinco Ranch Library, and welcome to the first episode of What Makes This Photograph Great, where we analyze point by point, element by element, pixel by pixel, what makes a photograph worth looking at. Each episode I'll be choosing a master photographer and focus on a particular photograph from their repertoire which I really dig. Today we're going to look at Gregory Crewdson. Now he was one of my favorites when I was an undergrad studying photography. One of the assignments you always get is to make a photograph that emulates a photographer whose style you're into. I chose him because I was making very surreal images of haunting scenes of everyday small-town American life, and that's what Gregory Crewdson does. I would call him the David Lynch of still images. Here's a little background on Crewdson. He was born in Brooklyn in 1962. Coincidentally, as a teenager, he was in a punk band whose only hit was a song called Let Me Take Your Picture. After getting his MFA from Yale in 1988, he started taking fine art images in small towns in New England throughout the 90s. Now, to me, what makes Crewdson interesting is his process. He makes images more like a movie producer would make a film. He's even been known to distance himself from the term photographer since he actually dislikes handling cameras. He cites movies as his greatest influences, including greats like Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Blue Velvet. He uses an 8x10 film camera, which produces a negative the size of a piece of paper, which enables him to make gargantuan prints. For lighting, he uses the same lights that movie makers use. He's been known to shut down entire city blocks when making images, employing a crew of assistants. For each image he makes, Crewdson shoots several sheets of film, each time moving the lights to a different part of the scene. He then scans the negatives and digitally composites them into a final image. So let's take a look at the image I've selected. It was a tough decision because Crewdson has so many wonderful photographs, but this one, I think, is very representative of his work as a whole. It is called Untitled, and in parentheses, Beer Dreams. So let's find out what makes this photo great. Alright, here's the image. Let's start off with the basics. Elements of composition. So the most basic rule of composition is what's known as the rule of thirds. And that rule says that if you divide the picture plane into thirds, both horizontally, and this is just approximate, and vertically, that you should place the most interesting part of the picture where one of these two lines intersect. And of course, he's done it spot on right here, with the subject of his image being in the lower right third of the picture plane. Alright, let's go to another element, which is leading lines. And this is the use of lines to point to the subject. And he has got lots of leading lines. Of course, he has this big, obvious one right here. But these power lines right here also come down, point. There's some other less, more subtle ones. This driveway right here forms a line right here. As well as the white shadows, or the white reflections here, also point to the subject. It's an amazing use. And I even forgot the horizon line that these trees form also point. Alrighty. So next, we'll talk about framing. And these leading lines also do much of the framing. But also this huge tree right here, in a way, provides a frame for the subject, which is right here, as well as all the rest of these lines. The next element of composition, let's talk about the color. And blue definitely does seem to be a favorite color used by Crewdson. You see all these blue tones in here, some caused by this kind of mist or fog that's happening. And of course, this white is a very blue white compared to the lights of the house. And blue is, what it does is it gives a feeling of melancholy to the images. And most of his images will definitely evoke a feeling of melancholy. Let's talk about the details. I like a lot of the the subtle details that you may not notice at first glance. When you first look at the picture, you see a man who's standing under what appears to be a spotlight that's coming right down on him, and he's looking up at it. But if you look, and you don't know which house this guy lives in, he's kind of in this driveway, which may seem to think he lives in this house over here, or he may live over here. This house here is a nice, well-kept house, whereas his next-door neighbor has, several cars parked on the lawn. There's a cooler. Looks like there's beer cans all over the lawn. Zoom in a little bit. Too much. We have a bicycle right here. All this kind of trash on the lawn. These wonderful details that keep you looking at the picture. Once you've thought you've seen it all, you look closer and you see more. So then let's talk about just the overall content of this. What I really dig about this image is the ambiguity in this image. What's happening? You don't know, and it's the mystery of Crewdson images that I like. We don't know what's projecting the spotlight down on him. It could be a number of things. It could be a helicopter searching for something. It could be aliens. I mentioned before he had used Close Encounters of the Third Kind as definitely a point of inspiration for his photographs and films that have that kind of creepy feeling like that. But it could be something mundane. It could be something everyday. Something that happens every day in small town American life. And that's what I really like about his photographs. They represent this kind of small town American feeling, but with this layer of uneasiness just kind of brimming at the surface of them. And I think that tension is what makes Gregory Crewdson's photographs definitely great. I hope you enjoyed this episode of What Makes This Photograph Great. Stay tuned for the next episode, where we'll leave American surrealism behind and move into the beauty of the American land with photographer Ansel Adams. Have a great day.